Least as dangerous as the normal kickoff and looks like hell, sissy football is bad for America and bad for the NFL. Says the guy who wakes up in the morning and sprays his head with Aquanet. Truth be told, loudly complaining about the NFL is what a man his age should be doing right now. Maybe he'll send in the National Guard to fix...
What's happened is, when you've had privilege so long, equality feels like oppression. They're basically saying, some people want some of our equality.
Yes.
Well, of course they do.
Yes.
That's it.
Damn them, damn their eyes. And one of them ended up president. That's the ultimate offence.
I'm nearly numb to it now. I didn't even bother commenting on that tweet the other day where he said, if I had, even if that terrible shooting, I'd probably have gone in there even if I didn't have a weapon. That's what a 10-year-old says. I could beat up a lion. I could fight a lion if I had.
Trump's presidency has become the comedy roast that never ends, and Jimmy Kimmel and Ricky Gervais just took turns lighting the stage on fire. The man who once branded himself as untouchable is now the political version of a blooper reel, fumbling through scandals, missteps, and ego meltdowns. Imagine a president who treats press briefings like bad auditions and policy like punchlines. Only he's the joke. Kimmel and Gervais didn't just roast him, they carved him down to size with surgical mockery.
Our parents left the house. Trump is in the UK, or as he has to be reminded not to call it, the UCK. Paddington Unbearable is in England for an official visit with the royal family. Wait till he finds out tea time has nothing to do with golf. He's going to be very upset. The royals are expected to greet the president and first lady tomorrow, but some clever Brits are already rolling out, I wouldn't call it a red carpet exactly, but rather a King Kong-sized photo of Trump with his buddy Jeffrey Epstein.
This is a man who had to be helped down the stairs, right? This is a man who was scared of a tame eagle. Yes. So this is not a brave man.
But he believes it, though, doesn't he? That's the weirdest
I don't know if
thing.
he does.
Do you not
I think he's got that childlike narcissism that he sort of, if he says it, it sort of might be true. But yeah. I think there's a bit of troll about him.
And if you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Kimmel's blows landed hardest because he knows Trump sees television as the holy temple. For a man who's addicted to ratings, nothing stings more than being framed as yesterday's washed-up act. Kimmel exposed that desperation, comparing his endless rallies to reruns of a canceled sitcom, loud, overhyped, and completely predictable. It's not leadership, it's a marathon of self-promotion, where Trump insists he's the star, even as the audience is laughing at the wrong parts.
And this morning at 7:46 a.m., our president, who is staunchly pro-concussion, he loves his CTEs, weighed in on the games on Sunday. You know, he sat up in bed and posted, the NFL has to get rid of that ridiculous-looking new kickoff rule. How can they make such a big and sweeping change so easily and quickly?
Right, or my dad could.
Yeah.
My dad could wrestle in line.
Exactly.
So, and then there was that picture of him with his own kid. He wouldn't even use his umbrella. He was walking up the aeroplane steps with an umbrella over his head, and his kid's getting rained on. But this is the man that would go in to protect other people's children.
Of course,
with his
this is a man who had to be helped down the stairs. Right, this is a man who was scared of a tame eagle. Yes. So,
Ricky Gervais, meanwhile, brought the kind of savage honesty only he can deliver. He doesn't just mock Trump's behavior, he highlights the absurdity of a president who acts like he's still competing for airtime on reality TV. Gervais cut straight into the ego, pointing out that a man who spends more time chasing applause than governing isn't a statesman, but a desperate performer terrified of silence. The laughter Gervais drew wasn't polite. It was brutal, the kind of laughter that stings because it's grounded in truth.
Does that not tell you everything you need to know about Donald Trump?
I wasn't political till about 6 months ago. I wasn't interested in politics.
Really?
But now I'm just fascinated. Let's not talk about him, though.
That's fine. Let's talk about you. You're more interesting.
I'm not. It's just...
What makes their combined takedown so lethal is how they highlight the contrast between Trump's self-image and reality. He paints himself as larger than life, a towering figure of power and dominance. Yet, under scrutiny, he looks like a stagehand who stumbled into the spotlight and won't leave. His policies aren't policies at all. They're ad campaigns dressed up as governance, designed for maximum camera time rather than actual impact. Kimmel and Gervais showed that perfectly. The supposed mastermind is really just recycling the same tired gimmicks.
An entirely different subject, TikTok. His Treasury Secretary announced that they have a framework of a deal to sell TikTok to an American company. Last year, Congress voted to ban TikTok unless the Chinese company that owns it sold it to a U.S. company. This deal is very important to President Trump because TikTok is his son Don Jr.'s only friend.
Trump's obsession with ratings became one of the juiciest targets. Gervais reminded viewers that, for Trump, approval polls function like Nielsen numbers. He doesn't see disapproval as a reflection of his leadership. He sees it as bad publicity. Instead of fixing issues, he spins them like a desperate producer hoping to avoid cancellation. It's a tragicomic cycle where a man entrusted with global power behaves like a contestant praying not to get voted off. And Gervais twisted the knife by comparing it to the spectacle of awards shows he's famously roasted. Trump demanding trophies for participation while everyone else wonders how he got invited.
Real quick about The Office, you know, that was a reality show that obviously is early 2000s. Reality has changed so much.
Oh, it's completely different now.
Completely different. And we actually have a reality star who's running for president. You have a plan for Donald Trump, though, what America should do.
Well, first of all, I can't get enough of him. I started off thinking it was quite funny, and then it got a bit serious. And now I don't know whether to want him to get in for the fun of it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that I don't live here, so
right,
sorry
yeah,
about that, but I think
right.
it would be... But I love him. I just want to see a channel 24/7, just him talking, because it's amazing.
Amazing.
I love it. So, he doesn't mean to be funny. That's the beauty of it.
What sets Kimmel Gervais apart is his refusal to soften the truth. He dismantled the very foundation of Trump's persona by mocking the hollow bravado. The gold-plated towers, the oversized branding, the endless insistence on dominance. It all looks ridiculous when you realize it's covering insecurity. Gervais thrives in showing that the emperor not only has no clothes, but also can't stop bragging about his wardrobe. By the time he was done, Trump looked less like a leader and more like a parody of himself, desperate to keep an audience that's already tuning out. Every press conference is framed like a monologue, every tweet like a bad joke setup, and every scandal like a mid-season twist that only proves the writers ran out of ideas. Together, Kimmel and Gervais created a brutal tag team of satire. One emphasized the pathetic hunger for validation, the other mocked the absurd spectacle of it all. They didn't need to exaggerate. Trump's actions already feel like exaggerations. From boasting about achievements that don't exist to throwing tantrums over comedy shows, he does half the work for them. Their role was simply holding up the mirror, and the reflection was uglier than any punchline could
That's
capture.
some criticism, but on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. There's demolition, construction.
The cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel's show gave Trump one of his few opportunities to declare victory in his endless war against late-night comedy. Gervais has ensured that even without a time slot, comedians will always own the stage he craves most. Kimmel's absence isn't a win for Trump. It's a reminder that the jokes about him aren't tied to one host or one network. He's become a genre of comedy in himself, the never-ending sketch that keeps writing new material without realizing it. The brilliance of Gervais's roast lies in the cruelty of the laughter. He knows Trump would rather be mocked than ignored because ridicule at least confirms people are still watching. Gervais weaponized that truth, turning attention into the very humiliation Trump can't escape. The more Trump tries to reclaim the spotlight, the funnier it gets because every attempt highlights the fragility he's desperate to conceal. A man who insists he's strong looks weakest when begging for laughs. Kimmel's dismantling was no less vicious. He turned Trump's obsession with self-congratulation into a running gag, painting him as a man who hands himself trophies for races nobody else ran. The supposed victories, whether in trade wars, foreign policy, or domestic disputes, fall apart under scrutiny, revealing a president more concerned with applause breaks than outcomes. Kimmel's humor thrived on pointing out that nothing feels like governance when the central motivation is vanity.
That sign, which, by the way, really put Kinko's to the test, is especially timely because this trip he's taking was planned by the UK ambassador to Washington, a guy named Peter Mandelson, who was fired last week when they found out he wrote one of the letters in the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book, which means Pete will not be there for the visit he planned, which is too bad. He and Trump would have had a lot of gross things to talk about, I'm sure. But
what makes their destruction unique is how they tapped into something Trump can't outmaneuver: time. Jokes outlast presidencies, and ridicule outlives power. Trump may sign bills, give speeches, and hold rallies, but the legacy that sticks will be the comedy sketches, the monologues, the savage one-liners replayed endlessly. Kimmel and Gervais didn't just mock the man in office, they defined him for history. No policy achievement will outshine the image of a president reduced to the butt of jokes on an international stage. Trump's downfall, as they presented it, isn't scandal or opposition. It's exposure. Every time the curtain is pulled back, the act is revealed to be hollow. Kimmel and Gervais peeled back that curtain and left nothing but a man terrified of silence, craving validation, and mistaking laughter for respect. That's why their roast hits harder than any investigative report or editorial. Comedy cuts through the performance and exposes the insecurity fueling it all. The great irony is that Trump sees himself as a master entertainer, yet he can't tell the difference between being cheered and being mocked. Kimmel and Gervais showed that the more he insists on commanding the room, the more obvious it becomes that he's lost it. The Oval Office may give him power, but it doesn't guarantee applause. Without the laughter he controls, he's not the headliner. He's the joke. And that's the one truth he can't spin away, no matter how many times he rewrites the script.
I think, what if we just told him he got in?
Okay.
And...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he gets up every day, right, and he does a little address, and we go, yeah, it's brilliant, I was the president, and they're all extras.
Right.
They're all extras. And he just never knows. He was never president.
And we're filming it and watching it.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be amazing.
Oh, that'd be...
This unraveling is most obvious when he tries to bend reality to match his ego. He sells himself as the ringmaster of a grand circus, but the elephants have already left the tent and the clowns are all pointing at him. What he believes is a flawless performance looks to everyone else like a bloated rerun of a show that should have been canceled seasons ago. Each time the spotlight swings his way, the illusion flickers, and audiences are reminded that the magic trick has no magic, just sleight of hand and endless repetition. That's why satire lands with a sharper sting than policy critiques. A fact check points out mistakes. A punchline makes those mistakes unforgettable. Kimmel and Gervais didn't just reveal the cracks, they made those cracks laughable. By exaggerating what is already absurd, they magnified the fragility at the core of Trump's persona. When the crowd laughs, it's not just at a joke, it's at the absurdity of a president who treats the world stage like open mic night. What stings Trump the most is that he thrives on performance yet cannot control the framing. He wants to be the hero in every story, the protagonist who commands loyalty, but comedians make him the punchline. For someone addicted to adoration, there's no harsher fate than realizing the clapping hands are clapping for the joke, not the act. In that space, where ego meets ridicule, his entire performance collapses. No slogan can repair it. No staged rally can drown it out.
This morning, Trump warmed up for his date with the British press by yelling at a reporter from Australia who dared to ask about the billions of dollars he's been raking in since the election.
President Trump that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Port Horton program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone. Well, go ahead, John.
What a little tattletale he is. I mean, gonna tell his prime minister on him? I'm gonna tell him you said mean things and you're gonna be in trouble.
His weakness isn't hidden. It's broadcast in every attempt to demand loyalty through volume and repetition. The desperation to be seen as adored is precisely what makes him easy to mock. When Kimmel parodied his mannerisms or Gervais skewered his inflated self-image, they weren't inventing flaws. They were reflecting what was already visible. Trump doesn't fear lies about him. He fears truths dressed up as laughter. Because once truth becomes entertainment, it sticks, replayed endlessly, immune to his attempts to shout it down. The Oval Office has never insulated him from this exposure. Power might bend laws and institutions, but it cannot reshape the human instinct to laugh at absurdity. His entire public identity has always depended on control, controlling the stage, the camera, the headlines. Yet comedians thrive on dismantling that control. They flip the script, making his need for dominance the very thing that undermines him. When he insists on being the center of attention, they spotlight the insecurity driving that demand. The more he doubles down, the more obvious it becomes that the emperor isn't just without clothes. He's parading through Times Square believing the crowd is
He's never had to do or achieve anything in his life. This is a man who's, people fell for him because he was a good businessman. Well, actually, someone looked at it, right, and they worked out that if he'd have just put his inherited wealth on the top 50 stocks, he'd be $6 billion richer than he is. So he's effectively lost money over his...
There was a libel. Someone said he's not a real billionaire. He sued them and lost.
His power lies in its ability to pierce that delusion without mercy. Kimmel and Gervais didn't need policy papers or investigative reports. They needed timing, wit, and an audience ready to laugh at what they already suspected. Trump's brand is built on spectacle, but comedy redefines spectacle on its own terms. Instead of applause, he gets ridicule. Instead of reverence, he gets parody. Each laugh chips away at the illusion of strength until only the raw craving for approval remains visible. What makes this exposure irreversible is that once the image cracks, it cannot be rebuilt. A leader mocked as desperate for attention cannot suddenly regain dignity by demanding more of it. Each new attempt at control reads as further evidence of fragility. The cycle feeds itself. The more he tries to be respected, the more glaring it becomes that respect is precisely what he lacks. In that feedback loop, comedy ensures his downfall isn't just visible, it's impossible to ignore. The presidency may give him the trappings of authority, but comedy strips them away with a single punchline. Titles and power mean little when laughter reframes them as props in a farce. Every podium becomes a stage, every speech an audition for an audience that refuses to play along. Trump may believe he's directing the performance, but comedians hand him a script he never intended to read. That of the clown who mistakes ridicule for admiration.
This year he brought his wife, which was better for sure. And I have to say, I don't know what's going on, but those two lovebirds, they seem to be closer than ever. I mean, if you see during the ceremony, in a tender moment, Donald reaches over and gives her a little tap. He taps her like he's hoping ketchup would come out. And she didn't really respond. Maybe that's their signal for my diaper is full. I don't.
This isn't mere entertainment, it's revelation. Humor reveals what political analysis often buries under jargon. The fear, the neediness, the hollowness behind the performance. When Kimmel exaggerates Trump's showmanship or Gervais mocks the melodrama of his stage presence, they expose the insecurity that drives every decision. A man desperate to be taken seriously is reduced to someone desperate to be noticed, and in that reduction lies the essence of his undoing. What makes it even more devastating is that Trump cannot adapt. A skilled entertainer would lean into the joke, diffuse it by owning it, but his ego forbids that. He cannot acknowledge mockery without admitting vulnerability, so he doubles down, amplifying the very traits that fuel the jokes. The image of a president unable to distinguish between satire and support will outlast any headline he manufactures. Comedy ensures that his legacy isn't carved in stone, it's scribbled in punchlines, repeated until the absurdity defines him more than any achievement ever could. In the end, the exposure that comedy delivers is permanent because it doesn't rely on persuasion. It relies on recognition. Once people see the performance for what it is, they cannot unsee it. And no matter how loudly Trump insists otherwise, the laughter will continue, echoing louder than any rally chant. Because in the theater of politics, the ultimate humiliation isn't being opposed. It's being revealed as the joke everyone saw coming.